They say nothing good ever happens on Craigslist after midnight, but let me be living proof that sometimes you stumble onto a bargain you'll never forget. My name is Daniel Harris, and until a few years ago, my idea of adventure was sneaking a second donut into my coffee order. I live in Salem, Massachusetts, yes, the town with all the witches. It's nice. This is the story of how a ring changed all of that. And before you get any ideas, no, this isn't a sappy engagement story. Or, he put a ring on it kind of tale. This is a story about ancient monks, inexplicable luck, and one very peculiar piece of jewelry. It started, as all great stories do, with a desperate Google search and an empty wallet. I was sitting in my tiny studio, staring down a deadline, bank account at zero, and fridge humming its last, mournful note. My writing gigs had dried up, my car was wheezing, and I was starting to wonder if the universe had it out for me. In a last-ditch attempt at distraction, I scrolled Craigslist's antiques and collectibles section, mostly to dream about all the weird stuff I'd buy if I ever got rich. That's when I saw it. A new post, no photo, just a title. Ancient ring price, $20. The desperate who writes ads like that? Still, curiosity got the better of me. And before I knew it, I was messaging the seller, but when I arrived, the street was wrapped in morning fog, crows squabbling overhead. Leaning against the cemetery gate was a man in threadbare robes, skin the color of old parchment. He looked me up and down. "You're desperate?" he asked. "I suppose so," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. He smiled, reached into his sleeve, and produced a ring old, but dulled with age. "This ring will bring you fortune," he said, "but heed me, Daniel Harris. It will stay only as long as you need it. When your purpose is served, it will go." I tried to ask what that meant, but he pressed the ring into my palm, closed my fingers around it, and like some B-movie, magic trick vanished into the fog. No smoke, no drama, just gone. Honestly, I almost laughed. Who gives away a magical ring for $20 and then disappears like a stage magician who's late for breakfast? Still, I'd spend $20 on worse things. I slipped the ring onto my finger and went home, fully expecting to wake up and find it had turned my finger green. But that's not what happened. That very afternoon, my phone pinged. A magazine editor I hadn't heard from in months wanted to buy an old article at. The timing was almost suspicious, but I shrugged it off as a lucky break. The next morning, a second surprise. A local business magazine, which had always rejected my pitches. They needed someone for 3 weeks, decent pay, byline. A new audience. I sat there, blinking at the email, thinking how just yesterday I'd been bracing for another week of microwaved ramen. Within days, the changes started stacking up. The gig at the magazine led to another, then another. Suddenly, my name was showing up online, and with every article, new doors seemed to open. An old friend from college, now running her own digital agency, reached out. "Hey Don, saw your name in Boston today. Would you ever consider helping us with copywriting for our startup clients? We can pay a monthly retainer." It was more money than I'd ever seen at once. I met her for coffee free, courtesy of the barista, who recognized me from my article about Salem's best small businesses. The meeting led to a contract, and with it, my first taste of real financial stability. I was no longer choosing between groceries and rent. For the first time since I'd become a freelancer, I had savings, and it wasn't just business. My entire attitude began to shift. Where before I'd hesitated to reach out or follow up, Now I felt bold, almost buoyant. I called a few old contacts at regional newspapers and pitched them ideas. I'd always been too nervous to try. To my shock, they said yes. One story about a historic bookstore in Salem even went a little viral, picked up by a travel site. Then quoted in the Boston Globe. I was invited to a networking event, and though I felt completely out of place in my thrift store blazer, I somehow left with 3 business cards and a handshake for a new podcasting project. The ring became my secret talisman. Whenever I faced a tough call or a big decision, I'd twist it on my finger, feeling the cool, steady pressure of the gold. I was still me, same jokes, same love of black coffee, same terrible sense of direction. The world seemed to respond to me differently. Instead of closed doors and dead ends, I found chances everywhere I turned. Some were small. My laptop, notorious for dying mid-sentence, suddenly worked without issue. The local print shop started giving me discounts on business cards. I won a free lunch at a cafe raffle. Then the cafe owner asked if I'd write a feature on his new location. Some were big. A consulting company in Boston wanted a regular ghostwriter for their founders' LinkedIn posts. My former boss called, offering me a contract to run digital content for a nonprofit. The state's business development office invited me to judge a youth entrepreneur. Competition me, a guy who'd almost gone bankrupt the year before. With each success, my confidence grew. I started managing my money better, investing in better tools, and thinking longer term. I set up a proper website and began to treat my writing as a real business, not a string of lucky breaks. My days became filled with phone calls, coffee meetings, and brainstorming sessions. I hired an accountant. I bought a nicer chair. I even set office hours, something I'd never managed before. My parents noticed the difference right away. "You seem lighter," my dad said. Like someone who knows where he's headed. Even Oscar the cat, who used to ignore me for hours, began curling up on my lap while I worked, as if he could sense that the household stress had faded. But the changes weren't just in money or work. The ring seemed to draw good people. I became the guy people wanted at meetings, the one who came through with good ideas, the one who people wanted to introduce to their network. I found myself genuinely enjoying the business side of things. Strategizing, negotiating contracts. I helped a friend launch her own small business blog, and when it took off, she credited me at a city awards dinner. I helped a nervous high schooler prepare for his first interview. He sent me a thank you card when he landed the job. As my fortunes rose, I made a point of paying it forward. Every time I did, the ring felt almost warm against my skin. Friends started asking, "What's your secret? Did you finally take that business seminar your mom keeps sending you links to?" I just grinned and shrugged, never telling them about the ring, though I wore it everywhere. It became a touchstone, a reminder that luck, when used well, was a chance to bring others along for the ride. There were still obstacles, of course. Not every pitch landed. Not every contract paid as promised. Not every day was free of frustration. But the setbacks seemed smaller, easier to handle. When my new car got a flat tire on the way to a client meeting, a passing stranger helped me change it in 10 minutes. Flattened then. It turned out he was a manager at a local radio station, looking for new content contributors. The next week, I started recording a weekly segment for their morning show. My life transformed gradually at first, then all at once. I was asked to write a feature for a national business magazine. I traveled to New York for a summit and returned with a new contract and a dozen new contacts. My bank balance finally looked healthy. My landlord even offered me a lease extension at a discount for being such a reliable tenant. My calendar was full, my days busy, but it no longer felt overwhelming. I'd become a man in control of his own destiny, not someone drifting from one mishap to the next. But as everything improved, that old monk-esque warning sometimes echoed in my mind. When your purpose is served, it will go. And gradually, I realized that the ring hadn't just changed my luck, it had changed me. I'd learned to see opportunities, to risk rejection, to give freely, to lead, and to believe that the world could in fact. A year after slipping the ring onto my finger, I threw a housewarming party in a condo I never thought I'd own. My friends toasted my success, and I stood in my own kitchen, remembering those cold, desperate days when a $20 risk had changed everything. It was that night, as the laughter faded and the last guests left, that I noticed a stranger by the window, a man, dressed in gray, eyes sharp as flint. I nodded, heart pounding. "I am more than I ever dreamed possible." He smiled. "Then be grateful. And be ready. You've become the person you were meant to be." And as quickly as he appeared, he was gone. A few days later, I woke, poured my coffee. I searched everywhere, tearing apart the apartment, looking in every pocket, drawer, and corner. For a moment, panic fluttered in my chest. Would everything fall apart? Would my luck run out? But the phone rang, a new business opportunity, just as promising as ever. My inbox was full. Oscar napped on my keyboard. And as the sun rose over Salem, I realized that the fortune wasn't in the ring anymore. It was in me. I had become the kind of person who made his own luck, who built his own fortune. The ring had just been the start, the nudge I needed. And sometimes, late at night, I think about that Craigslist ad. I wonder who the ring will find next. Who will be desperate enough, brave enough, or foolish enough to take a leap for $20 and a dawn meeting in the fog. I hope it finds someone who needs it, just like I did. So, if you ever find yourself in Salem, scrolling Craigslist after midnight, and you see an ad for an ancient ring price, $20, for the desperate, just remember what I learned. The ring only stays until you've learned what you need. After that, the real magic is up to you.